What's up, Hoosiers? Thank you for joining us today. The Empire State Building is the ultimate symbol of American ambition. But the soul of that New York City skyline isn't actually from New York. It's hiding in the bedrock of the Midwest. You will there find Indiana limestone. This stone was cut from the earth in Lawrence County and Monroe County. It was pulled from the ground by men who knew the value of a hard day's work. The Limestone Belt in southern Indiana is the finest source of building stone in the entire world. It's durable, it's consistent, and it's able to withstand the harshest elements without cracking. This geology tells you everything you need to know about the football team that calls this rocky soil home. The Indiana Hoosiers are not built on sand or hype or fleeting trends. They are built on the same ancient bedrock that holds up the most important buildings in America. When you look at the geography of this state, you see a landscape that demands toughness. The quarries around Bloomington are deep and dangerous scars in the earth where massive blocks have been harvested. It takes time and immense pressure to create limestone. It takes grit and sweat to pull it out of the ground. This is the perfect metaphor for a football program that has never taken the easy road. Just like the stone doesn't come out of the quarry polished and ready, this team isn't about glitz. It's about substance. It's about being unmovable when the weight of the world pushes against you. They build things that last in Indiana. They build structures that survive storms and wars and the passage of time. That is the foundation of Indiana football. Really quickly, this is our new Big Ten channel. If you're enjoying our stories on Indiana or anything else, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. But the foundation of stone is just a cold and silent rock if it doesn't have a living spirit to animate it. Stone can withstand pressure, but it can't fight back. To turn that geological toughness into a winning football team, you need the heartbeat that matches the strength of the land. That heartbeat doesn't come from the ground. It comes from the people who walk on it. This brings us to the reality of the daily grind in Indiana. The state is a crossroads of America and the engine of Midwest work ethic. If you drive north toward the region, you see the steel mills and the manufacturing plants that built the 20th century. You see the men and women punching clocks before the sun comes up. They work in heat and noise and danger to forge the steel that drives the economy. If you drive through the Central Plains, you'll see the farmers who feed the nation. They are out in the fields during the planting season when the rain is cold and the mud is deep. They're out there again during harvest when the dust coats their lungs and the days never seem to end. This is a culture that doesn't complain. Nobody in Indiana expects a handout. Nobody expects success to just be given to them because they showed up. They understand that respect is a currency that must be earned every single night. When you fans fill the seats at Memorial Stadium on a Saturday, you are bringing that mentality with you. You look down the field and you expect to see a reflection of your own lives. You want to see players who understand the value of the grind. In this state, effort is the only currency that matters. When a player takes a play off, it's not just a mistake on the film, it's an insult to the people in the stands who grind for everything they have. A linebacker who quits on a play doesn't make sense to a farmer who can't just quit on harvest because he's tired. The connection between the Hoosier fan base and the Hoosier team is rooted in this shared labor. The players are not just athletes in a uniform. They are representatives of a population that wakes up early and works late. They represent the mechanics in Indianapolis and the limestone cutters in Bedford and the teachers in Evansville. In this state, they do not respect talent that refuses to work. You respect the grinder. You respect the player who may not be the fastest on the stopwatch, but who refuses to stay down when he gets hit. You love the team that fights for every inch of yardage because you have to fight for every inch of progress in your own lives. This work ethic creates a bond that is stronger than just simple fandom. It creates an identity of toughness that is woven into the fabric of the program. But all that hard work and all that grinding effort can feel isolating if you don't have a place to come together. You can work yourself to the bone in the factory or the field, but you do need a release. You need a place where that collective effort transforms into collective joy. A place that brings us to the magic of the town itself. Bloomington is not just a spot on the map. It is the heart where the blood of the state pumps the hardest. There's a sensory experience to Bloomington in the fall that you can't find anywhere else in the Big Ten. You have to walk through the old crescent when the leaves are turning fire red and burnt orange. You have to feel the crunch of those fallen leaves on the brick paths. The air changes in October. It gets crisp, and it carries the scent of wood smoke and anticipation. You can hear the bells ringing from the student building and echoing off of the limestone facades. There is an energy on Kirkwood Avenue that vibrates through the soles of your shoes. It's the sound of laughter and music and old friends reuniting. This is where the unique relationship between the town and the gown comes alive. In many college towns, there is a high wall between the university and the local residents. The students live in their bubble and the locals in theirs. But Bloomington is different. Here, the love for the cream and crimson acts as a bridge that connects everyone. You see the lifelong resident who has lived in Monroe County for 80 years standing next to the freshman from Chicago. They're wearing the same colors. They're cheering for the same cause. The university brings the youth and the energy, while the town brings the history and the stability. Together, they create an atmosphere that feels like a family reunion every single Saturday. The stadium becomes more than just a sports venue made of concrete and steel. It transforms into the community's meeting place. It is the town square where the entire state converges to share in a single dream. It's where the farmer meets a banker and the steel worker meets the professor. For those few hours on a Saturday afternoon, class divides disappear. Social status does not matter when the ball is in the air. All that matters to you are the Hoosiers. You all are there to lift up your team. But having a beautiful town and a united community is still not enough to win football games. This beautiful scenery doesn't win championships. You can have the best atmosphere in the country, but when the snow falls and the hits get hard, you need something solid to lean on. To survive in the brutal landscape of college football, you need something harder than just good vibes. You need a symbol that anchors your belief when the sky turns dark. You need a tradition that reminds you who you are when the scoreboard is against you. This is why you look to the Rock. Hep's Rock is not just a limestone boulder sitting in the end zone. It is a heavy and permanent promise. It represents the legacy of Coach Terry Hopener. He came to Indiana with a vision and a fire that ignited the entire program. He understood that Indiana needed a totem. He understood you needed something physical to touch that would connect you to the land that we just talked about. And when he passed away far too soon, that rock became a memorial. But it also became a challenge. The tradition of defending the rock is about protecting your home. It means that nobody comes into your house and takes what is yours without a fight. The players tap it before they run on the field. That tap is a vow. It is a silent communication between the current team and the spirits of the past. It says that if you are here, you are still fighting. This ties into the resilience that defines the Indiana fan. You have to be honest about your history because lying is not the Hoosier way. You guys have had long struggles. You have endured seasons where the wins were scarce and the winners felt incredibly long. You have watched other programs rise while you guys have fought just to stay above water. But this struggle is exactly what makes the loyalty of the Indiana fan so powerful. It's very easy to support a team that wins every week. There is no courage that comes in being a front runner. The courage comes from wearing the candy stripes when the pundits count you out. The honor comes from putting on the cream and crimson when the odds are stacked against you. Those stripes are immediately recognizable across the country. They carry the weight of generations of alumni who stood in the stands and refused to leave early. Your colors are not just fashion, they're a badge of honor that says you do not run when things get hard. You stay and fight, and you defend the rock because that's what families do. But resilience and loyalty can be exhausting if they're never rewarded. Faith is a powerful thing, but eventually you need to see the miracle. You can only endure the cold wind of a losing season for so long before you need to feel the warmth of victory. That is why the payoff is so incredibly sweet. There is no feeling in sports that matches the emotional release of a winning season in Bloomington. When the team starts to click, it feels like a dam breaking. Think about the fan who has sat through 20 years of cold November losses. Think about the alumni who have defended their team in arguments with rivals for decades. When the clock hits zero and the Hoosiers are victorious, it is not just a win for the record book. It will be a validation for a lifetime of faith. It is the universe finally looking at that fan and saying, you were right to believe. You were right to keep your season tickets. You were right to wear that jersey to work on a Friday. The joy that erupts in the stands is not just happiness, it will be relief. It is a mixture of tears and cheers that come from the deepest parts of the soul. When the team succeeds, it acts as a massive thank you letter to the entire state. It's the players telling the fans that their support mattered. It's the coaches telling the alumni that their donations and their passion built this moment. This success lifts the spirit of the entire community in a way that nothing else could. When Indiana football is winning, the food tastes better on Kirkwood. The winter feels a little bit shorter. The work feels a little bit lighter. You don't just wear the logo out of habit anymore. You wear it as a warning that Indiana is finally coming for everyone. The gray skies of a Midwest winter feel a little less cold and a little less oppressive. There's a bounce in the step of the entire state. You walk taller because your team is standing tall. You feel a sense of pride that radiates from the stadium and touches every corner of Indiana. You realize that the struggle was the price you paid for this moment of glory. And every single one of you knows that it was worth every penny. But the game eventually ends, and the season eventually concludes. Players graduate and move on to their NFL careers. Coaches may come and go as the years roll on. The glory of a single victory will fade into the history books. So then you're left with the question of what remains when the noise dies down. What is left when the stadium is empty and the lights are turned off? What remains is the spirit of back home again in Indiana. This is more than just a song you sing before the race or after a game. It is the tether that connects you to the roots. It's the gravitational pull that ensures you never truly leave. You may move to Chicago to chase a career in the city. You may be in New York or California or somewhere across the ocean. You might build a life that's thousands of miles away from the limestone quarries and the cornfields, but you can never scrub the Hoosier out of your soul. Indiana football is the anchor that holds you steady no matter how far you drift. It's the reminder of where you came from and who you are. It reminds you of the values of hard work and grit in a community that you learned in that state. When you see those candy stripes on television, in a crowded bar, in a distant city, you are instantly transported back. You can smell the leaves, and you can hear the bell, and you can feel that chill in the air. You are back in the stands with your friends and family. You are back where respect is earned and loyalty is forever. The team is the vessel for your collective memory. It's the living history of a state playing out on 100 years of turf. So you keep watching, and you keep cheering, and you keep believing. You do it because this is not a football team. This is in your blood, and it is your bedrock. This is the place that shaped you. It is and always will be home. There's a peace in knowing that some things do not change. The limestone is still in the ground waiting to be built into something great. The work ethic is still in the people, driving them to be better every day. And the Hoosiers are still fighting for every single inch.